Now that we have the whole functionality working for our project, what I want to work on today is the counter. And what the counter is going to do is count down the time so that when we start the quiz, then this counter will start counting up so we can calculate how long it takes us to actually finish the quiz. Once we reach the end, the counter will stop and then we'll get a final timeline on how long it took us to finish it. Now, in order for us to do this, we're going to do this in the quiz component that we have. So we'll go to resources, JS, and our quiz component is actually just the welcome view. So if we come up to where our properties are being displayed, I'm going to create a new little section for them here, and we're going to need a few of them. The first one is going to be const start time. And that's going to just start at 0 because all of our calculations are going to start at 0. Then we are going to need seconds. Well, first we'll need SECS, and then we'll also need seconds because we are going to need to do some interpolation on it. Then we are going to need minutes. For us to display this, I am just going to put those values on the template so that we can see it. And we'll just do it right here. And this top one doesn't need to be widthful. I'll do justify center, text, XL, space, X5, and margin bottom of 6. So this will be where we do the time. Instead of 00 here, we'll do minutes. And then I'm going to copy this one, and then we'll do the same thing for the second set of zeros. This will be seconds. And for now, what I'm going to do is instead of doing it when we answer the questions, we're going to trigger it by button clicks. I'll do a div in here, and then I'll create 2 buttons. One will be to start, and one will be to stop. We'll do this one at green. It doesn't matter. We're going to delete this later, but for now, I just want to have something to display this. And this will be red. And then we'll put some events on here. This one will be @click equals start. And we don't have that function yet, but we'll deal with that in a bit. But for this one, the next one will just be to stop. And again, this is just temporary. This is just so that we can see something work on here. I just want to open this up so we can see it a bit better. We already have a stop function and we just need to create a start function. So we'll do it right above this one. Now we aren't going to need any special packages or plugins or anything like that to do this. We're just going to leverage JavaScript's date object. It's a great way to do it because we can get the actual time from our system of what now is. For now, I am going to take that start time value, and I'm going to say that that equals date now. And I actually want to console log this so we can see what that date now is going to give us. So we can give this a try. I'm going to go ahead and refresh that. I'm going to open up the terminal. I'll get rid of this later, but I'll go ahead and click start. And as you can see, this is the time that it's giving us. And if we click it again, this is the current time. So every time I click it, it is going to give me now, based on my system clock. So this is something that we can use to calculate when we start and when we end. So now this I'm going to get rid of. And here I am going to say that we are going to set interval because this is going to do the calculation for us. Again, this is coming from JavaScript. We'll set interval. And then we are going to grab the sex variable that we have. We are going to need the math floor so that we can get an even count so that it's not a fractional sort of a count. We are going to say that the seconds value equals math floor, and then we are going to call the date time again so that we can grab a new date timestamp, and we are going to subtract that from the start time value so that we can get calculations of the seconds as we pass over them. But not only that, because we want it to go through every second, we need to divide that by 1000, and that'll be 1 second. So to calculate the interval of seconds, we are going to take right now and we are going to subtract it by whatever this value was set when that button was clicked versus what time is it now. We're going to divide that by 1000, and that's the interval that we're going to have. After that, we can get the seconds value because this is what's going to be displayed in the template, and then we can parse that. Because right now, if we do it, let's just see what we get. Let's click start. And as you can see, it's calculating every second, every second, every second, every second. It's calculating it. Let me refresh that so it does not continue to do that. And now that's being calculated. So now that we have that value, we can take seconds.value equals, and now we just want to parse it so that we can use it in the template. So we're going to make some backticks and a $sign. Again, there are a few ways that you can do this. I, in particular, prefer to use parseInt as a function. And this function will basically just take the string and convert it to an integer. So we'll do some parentheses around that. I want to put some additional backticks because we are escaping values here. And we are going to take that, not these, I need these. I'm going to take that sec value and we're going to get the modulus 60. And then we're going to round that off to 10. With that, we are going to concatenate the pad start. Again, this is another function, and all it's doing is just allowing the string to have a certain length. So it's not going to go over 60 seconds. It's not going to be like 61 seconds. It's just going to stop at 59 seconds. It's going to hit 60 seconds, and then it's just going to increase the next value of whatever it is. Basically, it's just going to start over again. We'll say pad start, and we want 2 and 0. What it's saying is that when we are displaying it in the template, this pad start is going to basically have 2 decimal places. And so if the calculation is at 2 seconds, then instead of just being the number 2, it'll be 0, 2. Those 2 decimal places will continue on so that if it gets up to 10, for example, then 10 will be 10 instead of 0, 1, 0. It'll just keep the decimal places at 2. This part of it is just saying that it will stop at 60, not stop at 60, but it will continue after 60. So instead of it being 61, it'll just start over again at 1 or at 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Once it gets to 59, 60, 60 will become 0, 0, and then it'll just start over again. So the seconds will be calculated in that way without it becoming bigger than what it should be. The next one that I want to have is the minutes. Now again, we are going to parse this. Parse integer, backticks. These are backticks, these are not single quotation marks. $sign, again, we're escaping sex.value. And this time we are going to divide by 60 in here. We're going to come out of that, and then we are going to do modulus 60. Then at the end of that, again, that's going to be 10. So for the pad start, it'll also be 2 and 0. These 2 here are single quotations, and these little ones are backticks. What's this one saying? Well, this one's not saying value, but there we go. This one is saying that it's going to take the seconds value, it's going to divide by 60, and actually I need to put this in here. No wonder that didn't look right. And then we're going to do modulus 60. Again, this is doing the same thing as above, except the numbers are different because they are calculated in minutes and not seconds. So this is why we are calculating 60 here, because it's accounting for those additional 60 seconds that are coming from the seconds. And then it's also going to pad 2 so that it will be 2 minutes, but it will start at 0 because the minutes for our timer, I do want the double digits, and I do want them to have 2 decimal values so that if we decide to go up to hours or whatever, then you can do that as well. But for now, this is where it stands. Our counter really will count up to 60 minutes. So again, this is a set interval, and this interval is going to take place over the course of a second. That's what's happening in there. The thing about setting an interval, you have to clear the interval at some point. You can't just let it just run. So I'm going to create a new variable, and I'm going to add it up top in a minute, but I'm going to call it time interval dot value equals. And then I'm going to grab this, come up top, and we're going to put it under here. And that's just going to equal ref 0. So it's just going to start at 0. If we start an interval, then we have to be able to clear it, which means that when we go to stop it, then we can also clear the interval. And the interval that we're clearing is the time interval value that we injected up here. Let's go to the browser and see if we can sort of simulate this with our buttons. I'm going to come over here, I'm going to refresh, and then I'm going to press start. And as you can see, the counter is counting up. And if we press stop, I'd have to press that again. Okay, that's not working. Let's go and find out why. Start and stop. And then on our buttons, probably because I'm just going to comment this out for now. No, not that one. I'm going to comment this one out for now because that might be interfering with it. Let's try it again, and I'll fix this in a minute. Start. My stop button isn't working. So let's see what's going on down here. Minutes, seconds, at click. I'm going to give this a little space as well. Okay, let's try it again. Start. Stop. And as you can see now, it's actually stopped. Something also to note too is that our numbers are starting at 0 and we wanted to have the double digits on each side. So let's go and fix that. Well, actually, if we are doing these seconds and minutes like this, we can actually just make them strings. So I'm going to put some backticks instead, and then it'll be 0, 0. Because that's what we're doing. We're converting these strings into strings of numbers for the seconds and minutes. So if we come here, so we have our double double, and let's try to make sure we didn't break our counter. Okay, so that's good. And then it stops. So now we can hook this up to our quiz so that we can start it when we start this quiz, and then we can stop it when we end this. So we can get rid of these buttons and then do that. Now, before we do anything else up here, we are going to get rid of those buttons so that I don't forget and leave them in here because we don't really need these. So we'll come up top, and now we can use our functions to start. And what we actually have that gets triggered when we start answering our questions is the new index. And right here, we have it set just to submit the form if it is equal to 10. But what we can also do is say, if new index equals 1, which means we've started our quiz, then we can call that start function. I don't want to do anything with this yet. I'm just going to comment this out, and I'm going to comment this out. We're not going to worry about submitting anything just yet. We just want to start and stop. So we have the start working here, and then we have the clear interval working here. So what we can do now is try to click through our quiz and see if we can do a start and stop just by using that watch function right up here. Okay, so I'll go ahead, refresh, and then we will start brand new. Which television series showcases Deadliest Catch? Which U.S. state has the largest subnational economy in the world? Subnational. Probably California. Seoul is the capital city of which country? South Korea. What types of foodstuff is on Shrove Tuesday? Fish? No. Kind of blue. Miles Davis. What type of pasta is pappardelle? I'm going to say shaped. Whose Norse god had the Valkyries as handmaidens? Thor. No. What is the term for the art of study of which language to persuade, which comes from the Greek word for orator. Rhetoric. What is the name of the research paper that is written? As you can see, our counter is still counting, right? Oh, we need to fix that. You see how that jumped? Okay, we'll fix that in a second. What is the name for a research final dissertation? The sport name softball is a direct baseball. Okay, so we can't see it here, but maybe we can come to our view and see if we're getting a final time. Completed, minutes, 1 minute and 74 seconds. Let's adjust our time so that this is correct. I probably put a backtick or something somewhere. Yes, okay. This should be in here. And let me give this some space. Let's try it again. Refresh, which is the outermost planet. What does a rhinologist specialize in? I'm going to say the nose. What fruit bears a Latin name? Citrus grandis. Big fruit. Fermentation. Water. Tennessee and North Carolina. I think it's the Smokies. What is the name of the format used for representing? We'll keep an eye on this time too. What is the name of the format used for representing wide on the original? Is it letterbox? Who said Veni Vidi Vici, I came, I saw, conquered? Watch the time. Okay, good. I believe it was Caesar. What is a piece of shallow salt water from the deeper sea by coral lagoon? So let's see what our final time was. And 1 minute and 13 seconds. We will put it here so that we can see that. In fact, let's go and do that now. Okay, let's just head straight down to the bottom and we will take a look. So this is where we are showing the final score, and I think that's a good place to do it. So we have congrats, here's your final score. Why don't we do a p tag, and then we can say, well, we'll do a class on it. Margin top 6. And here we'll say you finished in, and then we can use that minutes and seconds variable that we have. Okay, then we have play again. And why don't we also put here on the button, we'll do a p tag and we'll say, go see your stats on the dashboard. Because again, this is if the user is logged in. We'll just do that and we'll do that conditional. Let's add some classes on here too before I forget. And then since we have the user variable, we can just say if user. And if they're not a user, why don't we do, I'll copy this. Else. We'll actually say on here, stats are not saved unless you are. Here we'll do a link, which I might need to import. We'll find out in a minute. This link will be to the login route. We'll just add a class of hover. And in here, we'll just say logged in. Okay, let's go and make sure that we can do this because we're not actually logged in now. So it'd be a perfect opportunity to check. On the friends, David Schwimmer, Monica and Ross. Ray Kroc. You finished in 48 seconds. This is the score. We can play again, and stats are not saved unless you're logged in. And if you hover, you see that we have the login link. So now that we have this set up for the standard user, we have a countdown that will give us a good time. Now we can start setting it up so that we can hook it up with the authenticated user, and this score can be generated in the database, and they can have the stats for that as well. Why don't we start with the backend part of it, and then we'll finish up the front end to do that. Well, the first thing that we are going to need is a route. So we'll start there. And we have our quiz stats coming in, which is fine. That's good. We've already done that part, but let's go up to our stat controller. And this is where we need to fix that, because right now it's just saying now, but we need to get the actual count from the front end. Now we can't just take in the count from the front end. We need to do it so that Laravel can accept it. And for me, I found that the easiest way to do that is just to use Carbon, right? Because Carbon, I've said countless times, is the time conversion thing for Laravel. We'll do Carbon parse, and then we'll just get the request start time. We'll set this up in the front end in a minute, and that's that. And then we can grab this one, paste it here, and this will be the end time. That's all that we need for this right now. We need to set this up so that we can grab those variables. That is coming from our welcome view, because that's where we are doing the timer. You could always set this up into separate components, do what you want to do. I'm just going to show you how to do it on this one page. So let's go up top and make sure that we have a form, we have our start time, and we have our end time. So let's take a look at this from the top to the bottom. Essentially, we have our form, and if we come down, the remaining count, all of this stuff is just fine. We have our get questions, and we have our guess. All of this is good. We have our watch, and we did turn a few things off from watch that we do need to fix or to bring back. Our new index equals 1, that's fine. We need to change this, and we need to change this. If there's no user value, then we'll just stop. And if there is, then we'll submit. Let's continue on. Our start function. As of now, we're just doing this on the front end. So we just have our start time for here. What I want to do is I want to say form.startTime, because we have a variable for that for our form specifically. And that start time is going to equal now. But we're going to say new date. And in fact, let me console log the form.startTime, just so that you can see what that is. Or we can even do this when we start it. Go to console log, refresh, and we'll just do something to trigger the start. As you can see, this is the timestamp that we're getting from the new date function coming from that date object from JavaScript. That's what we're going to need. Go ahead and refresh that to stop it. When the quiz starts, automatically we're going to populate this form.startTime to equal the new date. It's going to get that timestamp, which means that it's already going to be set. So whenever we start, we will have that value. Then if we continue on, we will clear interval. In fact, let me do that first. This will be the form.score. And let me copy this. And then now we'll have the end time. And that new end time will be a new date. Make sure I have that correct. Yeah. We will get another timestamp for the end time, and that will be included in the form when we get ready to submit. Now we can stop the timer, stop everything about the timer, and then we can post everything coming into the form. So the start time, the end time, and the score. And why is that underlined? Let me make sure that I have that in the form, which I believe I do. End time. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. We'll find out probably. All of that is good. Let's try to see if we can get this to submit. So we're going to have to log in, refresh. Well, Let's make sure this is working first as a guest, and then we'll try to log in. So I'll just click a bunch of stuff on here. It doesn't really matter because our timer is still going. Fine, we are not logged in. I'll go ahead, refresh. And this is something that we're going to clear in a bit because as you can see, the time is here and we want to make sure to clear that too. As a matter of fact, I'll do it now so that I do not forget since we're here anyway. We'll go to reset quiz, the questions.value, correct score, incorrect. We'll do the start time value equals 0, and then seconds.value equals, remember we did this as a string, and then we'll do a copy on that, and then here will be minutes, and then we can set that back. So let's just check this really quick before we log in. I try not to go back and forth, but I don't want to forget to do that. I got 0 points in 4 seconds. Play again. And now everything is clear. So let's go ahead, create a user, and I'll just use form filler for that. That's fine. Let's come to our take a quiz. And now let's just try to answer a bunch, see how many we get. Got 0. I'm not reading any of these. Congrats, your final score is 10%. You finished in 5 seconds. And let's just check our Vue DevTools just to see what was in the form, because this should have submitted form. So what do we have on here? We have the start time. Nope. Where is it? I'm on the register component. Well, it's already cleared out, so it's fine. We're not going to be able to see that. So let's go to the dashboard. We'll go to the quiz stats and we'll see this is our first test. So we have a score of 10%. Our highest score was, we didn't put a place for this. Okay, we need a place for this. So let's go and do that. That is on the stats.view that we have. I think what I'm going to do is here I'm going to put %. And I'm going to take out this average and highest score. And instead, I'm going to put duration. We'll get rid of this one. If you want to keep them, you can then just add this. That's up to you. But I'm going to put duration, which means if we come down here, we can get rid of one of these. And here we'll do item.score. Sorry, item.start time. Well, we could do calculations in here, but what we could also do is we can create a variable on the back end to handle this so that we have this calculated already for us on the front end. Why don't we do that? We'll go to the model and we'll come down here. Laravel has a really good way of adding attributes onto a model. This isn't an actual field that we have on the model. It's a calculation that we want to make for it. We'll do function. And this is going to be a protected function. This function I am going to call calculated duration. It's not going to take any parameters, and it is going to be an attribute. And this attribute is going to be a cast. So let's see if I can find that one. It's this illuminate one from up top. And as you can see, eloquent cast attribute. And then in here is where we can do the calculations. So we'll just do return new attribute. And then here we'll just say get function equals carbon interval. And then we just want the diff of this end time and this start time. Now, what is this doing? Well, Carbon has another cool thing that it does where we can get the difference of two variables. When it says this end time is coming from this model. This end time and this start time. These are the properties for this model. So that's why it says this here, because we are in the stat model. It is going to allow us to have that calculation. Because my LSP isn't giving me that, I am going to paste in these doc blocks for this. And then I also want to do the append so that we can add it to the model. Now, because we called it calculated duration here, up here, we need to put it as hyphenated, calculated duration, as camel case. Snake case, camel case, I can never remember, but that's what it's going to be. I'm also going to add the doc block for that. And I like to include these in the repos so that you guys have them. This way you know exactly what they are and what they're doing. And that should be good. Let's grab the carbon interval and make sure it's up here, which it is, carbon interval, and that should be good. I'm going to save that. And what we're going to do is we're going to refresh the page. And because we have the information for this user stat in here, I'm going to open up the component just to see what it is that we're getting in here. We have our stats, and as you can see, we have a calculated duration. And this calculated duration is broken up in different parts of the timestamp. We have the seconds and the minutes in here, which is something that we can leverage on the front end. Of course, you can do it however you want to do it. You can do the hours and days and stuff like that, but we're not going to need all of that. We can just do the minutes and the seconds that we're getting from the front end. Let's go and see how we can use that in the template. Now that we are back here, we can go to that stat.view. And now do that. Where is this thing? So now we can do calculated duration, and then we can target the minutes. And here I'm going to put mins for minutes. Copy, paste, and then we can also grab this thing. This will be a lowercase s, and then we can show seconds. Let's see what we have. Okay, great. So 0 minutes and 5 seconds. Let's close this out or do that. Let's go and take another quiz. We'll take it seriously this time. We'll really try to do our best and answer these questions. Who was the ruler of the Soviet Union from 1920 leading to the Soviet Union? Was it Stalin? What is the name of the popular relishes of spices, Indian foods, chutney? What is the paleophytology, the study of? Ancient multi-cell plants. Which U.S. state was the second to last to join the Union? Was it Hawaii? No. Name the highest mountain in Africa. I think it's Kilimanjaro. In which town were 20 people executed for witchcraft? Salem, Massachusetts. Nguyen Van Thieu served as the president of which Asian country? I want to say South Vietnam. What type of people were obsessed with turning ordinary metals into gold? Middle Ages, alchemists. What is the plot of the movie 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri? I have no idea. I'll do that one. Which 1969 festival was held at Max Yasgur's farm? The Coachella? No. It wasn't, but I have 1 minute and 13 seconds. Let's go to our dashboard. We'll go to our quiz stats. Yeah, 1 minute and 14 seconds, 70%. And there we are. We have it at 70%. All in all, we have managed to use an external API, hook it up to Laravel's authentication system, integrate it with Vue's front-end system, and incorporate not only the quiz with some results and statuses on the back end, as well as a counting timer using the native JavaScript date object. I think we have actually covered quite a bit in this tiny little project with a lot of different resources, and then just made something that's small, but really with a robust functionality in what it can do. Let me know if you were able to get your highest and average scores set up, and let me know how you did it down below. I'm really interested in seeing how that goes. I'm not going to add it to here, but it's good to know that you guys are continuing and trying to expand this. If you're enjoying the content, please go ahead and click that like button, as it really does help out the channel. Here's a video YouTube thinks you'll like, and here's a playlist to follow along. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.